Just 1 second. Okay. That'll work. All right, I think we're ready to get started on our commission meeting. We typically like to start these meetings with a prayer reading or thought and the Pledge of Allegiance. We'd like to take volunteers from the audience for that. Do we have anyone who's willing to give a prayer reading or thought, or anyone that is willing to do the Pledge of Allegiance for us? Anybody? You'll do a prayer? Yeah, absolutely. Come up and then state your name, and we'll do that first. Thank you.
My name is Alan Platt. And, our great Father in heaven, we're grateful to come together as a community to take care of the people. And we ask that thy spirit and thy inspiration and revelation be with those who conduct this meeting, and that they might be directed. That would be the greatest benefit for the people that they serve. And we thank thee, Father, so much for the freedoms that we have, and for the opportunity to have this type of public communication. These we say in gratitude to thee, Father, in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ, amen.
Amen. Thank you. Do we have a volunteer for the pledge?
I can lead us in the pledge. Oh.
Yeah. You do it, Brandon. Brandon, go ahead.
Would the audience please rise? Please repeat the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, we do have a recognition, but we'll hold off on that for just a minute. We don't have all the things we need for that, so give us just 1 second. With that, let's start building our consent and regular agenda. So what we'll do is we'll go through all of the regular agenda items, and any item that any commissioner would like to pull off to hold for discussion in this meeting or continue to another meeting, we will call out. Everything else will be moved to the consent agenda. All right. Let's see. Do we have items 1 through 10? Do we have any?
Commissioners, if you can continue item number 4 for 2 weeks, please.
For 2 weeks?
Yes, thank you.
All right. And I had a question on item number 5.
I have none beyond that for the
None beyond
first
that,
10.
Okay. Items 11 through 20.
I have none on those.
And from me,
Okay, and I think on item 11, the attachment had the wrong date on it. We did receive an updated attachment, so I just want to make sure that that goes on to the consent agenda with the updated attachment. Okay, that's for item 11. And then, and I wanted to hold items 19 and 20. Okay. And then 21 through 23.
none from me.
Okay,
I'd like to hold 23.
like to hold 23, okay.
Commissioners, as far as closed sessions go, we would need number 24 and number 27, please.
24 and 27, so we can strike 25 and 26.
That's my understanding, yes, thank you.
Okay, Alice, do you want to read back to us what we've got there?
You bet. Okay, I have us continuing agenda item number 4 for 2 weeks, which is January 25th. Holding number 5, 11 is approved on consent, just using the one with the correct date. And then holding 19 and 20, 23. And then as far as closed meetings, we're going to hold as stated 24, striking 25, striking 26, and holding as stated 27.
Okay, that's what I had. We good?
Need a motion to approve? Not? No?
Nope.
Just goes, okay.
Yep, that just goes as long as no one objects.
Okay.
Okay. Do you have an objection? Or are you here to discuss the first item?
Anticipating the first item, sorry.
Okay,
Commissioner,
okay. Can we have,
hold on, she's just trying to walk in.
oh, is she just, oh, there she is. Hey, Eileen, could you come up here for us real quick? Unbeknownst to Eileen, she was nominated by her coworkers for Employee of the Month. Thank you. So she has worked for the Civil Division for 15 years. And anyone that has worked in Utah County's Civil Division for a decade and a half and does not have a whole head of gray hair, we commend. It is an incredibly demanding department. And according to your peers, you have also been adopting a role of almost like a training coordinator. So on top of everything else, we've given you even more responsibilities, which is kind of our MO here at Utah County. And that you have taken that with poise and that you have taken on that new role, that you continue to do your work on a daily basis, plus working closely with Alice and with our policy advisors, drafting ordinances, resolutions, contracts, and doing it all with a great attitude. One of the things that they wanted to note is that you always do everything with a level of helpfulness and kindness, even if it's nowhere in your job description. You're more than willing to come forward and to be helpful to all of those around you. You're always thorough and positive, and that makes a huge difference for your office. And they wanted to recognize you for your value, your professionalism, your attention to detail, but most of all, the attitude in which you do all of that work, many of which is not even in your job description. So thank you so much for your service to Utah County. We appreciate it. Your peers obviously appreciate it, and we are better for you having worked here. So thank you.
Thank you.
So as
Yeah, you're there, you get, yeah.
Yeah, you have to talk to us. If you hadn't figured out, Rob purposefully left that in his office.
It was a good excuse. I have done this before, but I just wanted to say thank you. I work for a good division and with good people, and so I feel happy to help, and so I'm very grateful. Thank you.
That's great. And we'll come and get a picture with you. We've got a little prize for you here and
You're not done.
You get a picture and all kinds of stuff. Oh yeah, and then we've got a little packet of goodies here for you.
Sorry, we tricked you.
That's on the end here. Oh, terrific. Okay. Yeah, so I'm not gonna get too close to that happening today. I'm gonna stand a little bit further away. Yes, we will. You can't forget this. There's your goodies.
Thanks, Eileen. Got lots of supporters here for you. Thanks, Commissioners.
Yeah,
Surprising
absolutely.
a
All
little bit.
right, with that, we are now ready for the first item on the agenda.
Okay, which is number 5. And I believe Commissioner Gardner, you had some questions on this one?
Yeah, I think there were only 2 bids in the system when we were waiting on a third.
Yeah, I cleared that up with Robert. The third bid didn't load properly. There was another bid that
Oh,
was, came in
okay.
at higher than the
So we're good there?
original price, yeah.
Okay, it just hadn't uploaded
Yep,
properly?
correct.
All right, okay.
Thank you
Then
very
that
much.
was all I had. So I'm going to motion to approve
I'll
item
make a
number 5.
motion we adopt and approve item number 5.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That passes 3-0. All right. And number 11 is fixed. All right, number 19, adopt an ordinance to amend the Utah County General Plan to update the resource management plan for public lands related to the preservation of public roads. Bryce, I just wanted to call this one to attention so the public sees the work that we're doing to preserve our access to public lands, and maybe give us a quick overview.
Yeah, absolutely. Bryce Armstrong, Community Development. Just as a 30-second background to this, maybe 60 seconds. In 2016, the Utah State Legislature passed a bill that required every county in a state to adopt a resource management plan for all the public lands within their county. Public lands is a defined term in state code. It's really federal public lands, BLM and Forest Service lands, of which in Utah County, I think we have about 40%, or 40% of our county is under that category. And so in 2016, there were 28 resources that were to be included as part of this, this resource management plan as part of our general plan. And so we went through that process earlier this year. 2 of you may, earlier last year, may recall that we updated that resource management plan for a couple new resources. One was renewable energy resources, the other one was critical mineral resources, and then also pipelines and utility corridors. So we went through that process. This process today revolves around some language that PLPCO, the Utah Public Lands Policy Coordination Office, has asked each county to integrate into their resource management plan as it relates to, number one, preserving public road access to public lands, more particularly related to preserving the status of Class D roads. Those are public roads that access generally public lands. And also roads that may be recognized as public through a federal law known as Revised Statute 2477, RS 2477. It's associated with the Mining Act in the 1800s, was dissolved in the 70s, but there's a process to recognize those that are grandfathered as public. And so PLPCO has invited or asked each county to have a unified voice in each of our resource management plans to further codify our policies on preserving these roads, particularly as it relates to any type of federal action or federal agency. And so really the purpose of the resource management plan is to give the county a voice in these processes. And so what we've done is taken that, PLPCO provided some recommended language. We worked with our attorney's office to include that language in our appropriate sections of our resource management plan, again, to give the county a voice in preserving existing identified public roads that we have, or those that may be public through use that haven't gone through the process that it's entitled to.
Yeah, thank you. I think so. I know that moving forward, it'll be ever important that we stay on top of this. I know I recently, as in like at 1 o'clock today, received a list of the Public Lands Committee for the state of Utah. Utah County is not represented on the Public Lands Committee, but those recommendations, I think, well, as long as we stay on top of it and continue to do that, we can preserve access to these lands for our citizens. I know access on Class D roads and on these existing roads, they're roads that I think many of us that grew up here have been driving on with our families since we were young, and we take for granted that the federal government could try to shut off our access to those at any time, and these plans and the work that you're doing preserves that access for our citizens, so it's incredibly important. I wanted to thank you for the work that you're doing. And just that making sure that we stay on top of that as recommendations come. So, thank you. Okay.
I have no additional comments, so I'm ready to make a motion.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we adopt and approve item number 19.
Second.
All right, it's been moved in second that we approve and adopt item number 19. All in favor, say aye.
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 That passes 3-0. All right, number 20, adopt an ordinance to amend section 2.08 and 4.68 of the Utah County Land Use Ordinance to include required setbacks from road easements for private roads. Thank you.
Ryan Harris, Community Development. Do you have a specific question, or would you like an overview of?
Just an overview on why, why this is necessary and why the recommendation came forward.
Okay. So there's two main focuses. The first one is pretty simple. So the width requirements for the arterial and collector roads have expanded since the last time we updated this ordinance in 2011. So that's the center line setback that we focused on. So we're just expanding the center line setback from those two the collector and artillery roads. So they cover the entire right of way, and they also cover the setback from the property line. So we're just expanding it because the roads have been expanded, so the setbacks don't get too close to the roads. So that's the first portion. The second portion that we're focusing on is the private roads. So most of the private roads in the county are dedicated on the plat, but we have about 11 developments in the county that have private road easements instead of dedicated roads on the plat, and the property line is located in the middle of the easement. And most of these easements are between 30 to 50 feet wide. And with our current setbacks for the private roads, it's 15 feet from the property line or 24 feet from the center line of the road. So the problem we were running into is with a 50-foot easement, you'd have a 25-foot easement on both sides of the road, property line in the middle. And if you have a 15-foot easement, then the setback would be located within that easement. But we wouldn't allow that, so the setback would be at the edge of the right-of-way. And so we're changing it to say, instead of just property line, it's property line, road, right-of-way, or edge of road easement. And so, because the intent of the code when it was done back in 2011 was to have it from the road easement, because most of our subdivisions in the county that have a private road are dedicated. And so,
Do we foresee that this will cause any issues with existing structures or existing roads?
no. This would be, as of right now, it'd focus on the new buildings that we would get. So we wouldn't go back and look and say, oh, you have to meet this requirement. It'd be for any new buildings.
Okay, so we're not putting anybody in a tough spot here with that. All right. Okay, that was mostly my question.
Motion to accept item 20.
I can second that motion.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That passes 3-0. All right. Item number 23.
I asked to hold this one. We had talked through this one earlier during the budget process for this current year. And it's the ERP represents Enterprise Resource Planning. And we had approved during that process funds for a consultant to operate this year to advise and help define what this structure should look like. It's a financial redesign of the county's, let me back up, it's a redesign of the county's financial system that make it more effective and useful. And additional monies were put aside to provide the infrastructure to make that happen. And at the time, during the budget hearing, I suggested we wait this calendar year and bring it up for 2024 calendar year. So that way the consultant can have his work completed and the final requirements identified before we approve a position for this to be a part of the county staffing plan. And so my feelings is that we should hold off on this, or at least strike it and readdress it later in the year after we've had time to have that research completed.
Thank you. I agreed to put this on the agenda because having been through this process, nearly a dozen times in my career, I recognize that this is the single biggest issue that any organization will ever face. And I think waiting until we're a year into the process to hire a project manager would put us at a distinct disadvantage. I think both the auditor and the IT division agree. And so I'm in full support of getting this person on board sooner rather than later, as to A, not pull resources off of our existing financial staff to coordinate this project, and B, because the sooner we bring this person on board, the better they're going to know our systems, and the more likely they are to be able to help walk us through issues as they come up. So I was okay with that.
Can I
Yeah, Rod, if you
add,
wouldn't mind.
this is an area that I spent a lot of time in my work, and I concur with Commissioner Amelia there. It's really, really important that we, as an entity, understand and own the transition. If we bring in a consultant and we don't have one of our people tag along and add value, then once we make a decision, bring somebody in cold, they won't have context and they won't be able to guide and provide any guidance when the implementation happens, because they weren't part of the process of evaluating our current processes. One of the things you don't want to do when you roll over to a new system is automate inefficiency. So one of the purposes of the contractor coming in is to look at what we're doing right now, evaluate it, potentially look at areas where we could do things differently, and then put an RFP together to find a tool that meets our needs. Well, having somebody on board participating in that process is going to be really, really valuable as we pick a solution. And then their involvement in the implementation is critical, as well as after we have it, helping the county use it effectively. So a best practice is to get that person on board and trained on our stuff before the consultant actually comes in.
Yeah, and it's my understanding that the consultant has already recommended that we hire a project
Correct.
manager.
And they said the sooner the better.
Yeah. Okay.
I appreciated Rod coming to my office, and we discussed this a couple days ago, and as well, and some of the other things that we discussed as we're getting our feet wet. So I'm inclined to move forward right now with, the same recommendation.
Make a motion.
So I would move we approve item 23.
All right, I will suspend the rules and second that motion. Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we approve item number 23. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
All right, that passes 2-0.
2-1.
Oh, sorry, yes, 2-1. Thank you. All right, with that, we will go to, we do have a work session item, but that person won't be here till 3. Do we have any public comment this time? Yeah, absolutely. Come up to the mic and state your name and why you're here. I like your hoodie. I worked for Caterpillar for 12 years.
Hi, my name is Kenneth Michael Bachork, and I have some questions on, I've been noticing a lot of vacant houses, and then I look them up, that are tied to corporations. Do you know anything about that?
I don't.
There's many of them. Okay, and then what about the Utah State Park? They're making big courts, and I caught them transporting them, and I was wondering what they're doing with that, because that's
Which state park?
Utah
Like the lake?
by Provo, because I was petitioning the Provo River Delta.
Oh, right, the River Delta. So I do know there's a project there that you could reach out to the State Parks Association.
Oh, I did.
There.
Tucker.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
And that we
because
don't
there's a
have
lot
any,
of laundering, and
we don't have any control over the state park at all.
is that the sheriff, Mike Lee?
Yeah.
Do you uphold our Constitution? You do? Can I speak with you and show you all this fraud after this? Okay, because it's a lot. And then I know about the human trafficking, the energy that's being hidden, and a lot of other stuff that needs to come out. And we have homeless, people sitting outside. and they're just overlooked. Not all right. With kids. And then these kids that are being trafficked through the LDS church. And it's not the Mormons, it's the church. But thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming.
I'll wait.
Do we have any other public comment?
I would be happy to say a public comment as a citizen, and I, along with several other people, joined the county just a couple weeks ago, week and a half ago, and I am so impressed. I just want to share with the quality of the people that are in my office and the commission staff. Everybody's been very willing to spend time and help. HR's been great. Public Works has been great. I knew before that there were good people here, but I didn't realize how many. And I just want to thank them all. They've been very, very helpful. The civil attorneys, Paul, HR, and your staff, all of them have been just really kind and worked with me to get me up to speed. So I want our county residents to know that there's some really good people here doing good things.
I second that. I know it wasn't a motion, but, I'm seconding it.
You're allowed to.
You know what I meant? Yeah,
You're allowed to.
yeah.
No, I couldn't agree more. We are very blessed to have fantastic staff here in the county. Absolutely. It's the best part about working here. We obviously don't do it for the pay. We do it for the people. Is there any online comment? If not, so we do have a work session item, but that'll be another 15 minutes. We could probably get through some of our closed session items until they get here. So with that, we will adjourn to go into closed session until the work session item gets here. Okay, thank you. one of them got sworn in and was like, well, like, who does stuff at the county? You. Wait, like, this is like a full-time thing? Yeah. Like, at their swearing in, they discovered it was a full-time thing.
Yeah,
And some of
that's
them,
bad.
yeah, and some of them beat some really good commissioners.
Yeah. Well, this will be next week will be good. So they kind of gave, hey, like to see you at the training Tuesday. So all of that.
Okay. All right, we will get started with our work session item. You want to come up? We cleaned out half the room for you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you very much, Commissioners, for accommodating. I was in St. George last night for meetings, and this morning literally just got in, so it was quite a windstorm getting here, and storms and everything else. So, by way of introductions, I'm Marlon Eldred, the Economic Development Director for the City of Lehigh. I am also staff to the Lehigh City Redevelopment Agency. So that is the hat that I will be wearing today for you as county commissioners. On the work session agenda today, I had been asked to come in and visit with you concerning Project Bruno. So before I jump in, I did not prepare a presentation. I wanted to do this more of an open discussion. Just so that I could answer any questions you had. But before we get started, are there any questions that I need to make sure that I address during our comments?
No, I would like a broad picture conceptually what's in mind so the public has an awareness as well.
Okay, I can do that, Commissioner Sagovich.
Yeah.
Commissioner Gordon, anything?
Nope, I've talked to Mayor Johnson about this a little bit. Have an
Okay.
idea of what we're doing. So
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
So what we have before us is an opportunity for an expansion of the existing economic development area, the Alpine Highway Economic Development Area. The existing facility is currently on the tax rolls. It is under an EDA incentive. The current owner is looking at investing another $11 billion plus in a new facility on the site. It would entail anywhere between they've committed to 800 employees, but that number could go up in employment opportunities. The plant itself currently employs about 800 employees. I know that they're currently in a trying to hire more employees out there. So if I had to give you an employment range, we would be 1,600 to 2,000 employees at full build out for the facility. What does that mean for tax revenues? Currently, right now, the existing facilities on the tax rolls for about $850 million. At the height, when it was completely filled with equipment and everything, it was about 1.2, almost 1.3 billion. So I would anticipate, based on new technologies, new equipment, new facility, new everything, a complete build out, we would probably be somewhere between 2.4 and probably $3.2 billion worth of assessed value for the site. What we're asking for is an extension of the existing economic development area agreement, which is 70% as an incentive to the company. The other 30% comes back and is split out between the school district, Lehigh City, and the county. It's split out at 44% for the city, 44% for the school district, and 12% to the county. When I met with Commissioner Gardner, one of the concerns that she had was taking a look at an opportunity for an administrative fee. And so I visited with Mayor Johnson. I visited with Stan Lockhart, who's helping shepherd this process through. And we have a couple different ways that we could skin the cat. The first one would be, what are your costs from a county's What are your costs from the county's perspective? to include assessor, to include everything like that. And we can either do it as a flat fee or on an annual basis, what does that cost? And you take it right off the top. So what I'm saying is we're open to, we just need to determine how do we come up with that assessment.
Okay.
Again, is it a flat fee? Is it assessed based on true value? We're open to that discussion. But we would like to obviously finalize that discussion prior to any agreements being formalized. Timeline, what are we looking at? Next Tuesday, the 17th, we have a taxing entity committee meeting. The tech meeting is comprised of 8 individuals, 2 from the county, 2 from the school district, 2 from the city, 1 person that represents all of the smaller taxing entities. Lehigh Metropolitan Water Conservancy District, Central Utah Water Conservancy District, and North Utah County Water Conservancy District. And then the 8th person is made up of the state school board representative. The 8-member panel or tech committee will be voting on approving the budget for this project moving forward. If that's approved, then Lehigh City will meet in the redevelopment agency on the 24th, and they will then approve interlocal agreements, which one would be coming to the county, as well as formalizing the plan and the budget for the EDA extension. Is that enough of an overview? Is there more detail you would like me to get into, or?
Was there a piece for affordable housing in the draft agreement thus far?
Thus far, no. I know that we've done a lot of outreach, and there's a couple ways that we can address it or take a look at it. I know that we've made a concerted effort at the state level to reach out and have conversations to talk about what can we do at a state level for affordable housing. I know that we've also looked at, I'm trying to think, I just lost my train of thought. The state level coming down, we've got the housing that's going around this development. So I'm not sure if you're aware, but when Micron sold the property, they sold all of the excess property around the facility. So we currently have an area plan that's been approved for D.R. Horton that they're going to put in about 2,500, almost 3,000 more homes in that area to include some commercial with some retail, ancillary retail. So we've taken a look at it. So to answer your question outright, have we looked at taking funds from this to go right to affordable housing? No, we have not. We're trying to come up with other mechanisms that will be longer mechanism terms, i.e. at the state level, legislative level, to help with affordable housing.
Okay. I bring it up because any large projects, we've always had a piece of affordable housing set aside independent of the breakouts for school districts, county, and the city.
Correct. Okay. And let me address that really quick. So under the EDA, Economic Development Act, this was done back in 1995. There was no affordable housing set aside. So our intent in moving this forward was to retain that 1995 agreement, and all we're really doing is amending the plan, the budget, and the agreement moving forward. So there is no affordable housing requirement that's been put in place for that.
Okay.
Under the CRA law that we're currently under, and even some of the CDA law, you're absolutely correct. They had put in that 10% set aside for low to moderate income housing.
Okay.
So
I have
just
to
so
do a
you
follow-up
know,
on that later. Okay.
I had initial conversations with the state about my concerns, but those conversations have fallen off in the last few weeks, and I have not gotten follow-up from them. So my concerns have not yet been resolved. We look at 1995. The house that my mother lives in today was $60,000 in 1995, and it's $480,000 today. Right? So we didn't necessarily need an affordable housing element then, but we sure as hell do now. Right? And I've not gotten, I have asked the state, I did have a few preliminary phone calls from the state, but I haven't had much follow through since then. The other concerns I have is transit to the area. I know when Adobe first came to the area, UTA promised that they would have a line that went for Adobe. Well, UTA has not followed through on that Adobe line, and this is going to further require more transit. I've not gotten any assurances from UTA that they're going to be willing to actually give Adobe the line they want, let alone an additional line for this. I think it's great that the city has approved over 2,500 units in that area. However, those 2,500 units are going to need more roads and they're going to need more transit. And I've got no assurances from UDOT. I mean, the last assurance I got from UDOT was that in 2011, they built a freeway for us. Cool. Awesome. In 2011, we had like half the population we have today, and 40% of the state's growth is. So I hear what you're saying. I definitely am glad that you're willing to work with us on the administrative fee, because in the past we haven't done that, and our A&C fund budgets into the red. So we absolutely need that. I mean, an administrative fund is reasonable and it's pennies on the dollar. So I'm glad that we can get that. But my concerns of transit, transportation, and affordable housing, the city has done a great job trying to work with me on that. But my conversations with any of the state agencies have fallen off of a cliff in the last 2 weeks.
If I may, Stan Lockhart's here that's actually been kind of heading up a portion of that, and I think he can address hopefully some of those concerns for you, Commissioner Gardner.
Yeah, absolutely.
Stan?
Hello, commissioners.
I came just for you today, Stan.
That's asking quite a bit, so thank you very much. So I'm representing the entity that is coming, and I've had several discussions with Commissioner Gardner about this. This is nothing new. We've been having these discussions. We've been trying to work through them. We're talking about regional issues, right? These are issues that have been here for a long time, and they're going to remain here for a long time after we get done with this perspective. And what I believe is the best answer is a more collaborative effort between the state and the county and other stakeholders on how to meet these needs when we need them met, and to make sure that we're meeting the needs of the people of this county. To ask one project to try to do that, it seems to be it seems like that's a little more burden than we should be placing upon one entity. This entity, by selling off a good chunk of their property, is largely supplying housing for the workforce that they're going to hire.
Right.
And they're being paid the amount of money that they'll be able to afford those homes. So that's good. And they won't have to drive long distances to go to work, and that's good. So from what is the entity doing to make sure that they're meeting those needs? They're building 2,700. Well, they've sold the property, and there'll be 2,700 homes built right about the same time that these jobs come online. But to the issues that are facing the county, they're real issues, and they're not going away anytime soon. So I've been working with Commissioner Gardner to try to facilitate some meetings with various stakeholders that deal with transportation, that deal with mass transit, and that deal with affordable housing. And I believe that the best answer is to clearly define the need and then figure out funding sources on a statewide basis, to work with our state leaders, to work with our regional agencies like Mountain Lands and others, to work with the county, to work with UTA, to work with all partners and get them together and start these conversations. I understand there's going to be a surplus this year with state government. As we are told on a daily basis in the media that we're going into a recession, I don't know if we can count on that. But at least today, there's something of a surplus. As we work together with our legislators and with the governor, it seems to me that some of that surplus can certainly be given to these projects, which are prioritized, and where Utah County has a list of projects in that prioritization list that should be funded. And the more money that we can get to bring to bear to it, the more of those projects can get done. I don't think we're going to get our projects leapfrogged over other projects. I don't think we have the ability to get that done. But I do think we can get things funded so that we could get more of our projects done. And that's my hope as we go into these. So I've got a list of meetings for Commissioner Gardner and Commissioner Sakiewicz and Commissioner Gordon. You're both welcome to come to them, where we're going to begin these discussions. Over the holidays, right before Christmas, we had a lot of energy going, and then Christmas came and the holidays came, and then we're getting these wintertime flus, and things have just not. I've been reminded that we need to get back on top of it. I'm committed to making that happen, but.
And you make a great point. I mean, these concessions are not necessarily what we need from the project. It's the state needs to recognize that we need the support, because when we're bringing in these projects and we are 40% of the state's growth, I just am not necessarily seeing,
Yeah, no, and frankly, those are the issues facing our
Right.
county, the biggest ones.
And we
So you're
literally
right on.
have to go back to 2011 to find parity in our roads funding, right? Well, it's just we live in a different Utah today than we did in 2011, and I'm not sure how many of the people at the state recognize that.
Here's our big challenge. The big challenge is this company is not 100% committed to Utah. They have 2 other states that they've received bids from, and those bids are superior to what Utah offers. But we proudly stand and say it's all post-performance. The only things we give you will be rebates on what you already pay. We're not going to give you cash. I mean, we handle things as a state in a very conservative manner. So when we're competing with other states, it's really hard when they're offering cash grants and they're offering subsidies on water and subsidies on electricity that we just literally do not offer as a state. And so we go into this knowing that we're at somewhat of a deficit. Here are our positives. We have an existing plant that has just been purchased a year ago. They're very happy with the way that the current plant and the current employees have performed. We just saw an article in the Deseret News within the last week talking about that. And so it's not that we're without our advantages, but we have to have a welcoming. If we don't go in there and say, we all want you, it sends a message to them that, wait a second, where do we deploy this massive, massive investment? This is 2 to 3 times the largest private investment in the history of our state. It's humongous. The scope and size of it is just amazing. And it'll bless.
Hopefully they see that what we're asking for is resources that will help them. Right.
Yeah,
It's for
yeah,
their
and-
workers. It's transportation for their workers. It's roads for their workers. It's housing that will help their workers. So everything we're asking for will actually help them make this project as everything they want it to be.
Yeah. I will tell you, we've done traffic studies. There are no new roads needed with the existing plan development around it and adding this to it. There's no new roads needed based on the impact. There'll be about 1,000 new employees above and beyond the 1,000 they already have. And because they work in shifts, the traffic will be distributed over a period of time where there's no new roads needed today. But to Commissioner Gardner's point, you go look at the demographic projections, you go look at what's happening in this county, she's spot on, right? These are the issues facing our county. And if we don't start dealing with them right now and getting serious about how to meet those needs and plan for that future, then we're going to get into a future where companies don't want to be here. And that's to your point.
Absolutely. I think we definitely can work together on this.
If I may, really quick on a complete side note, Commissioner Sakiewicz, to your point, there's current legislation out there called HTRZ, which is utilized for the transit TOD sites. As of right now, we're currently looking at an opportunity in Lehigh. Of that, the reason I bring this up, 9% of the housing would be 80% LMI, and 3% would be 60% LMI of the housing going in. So we're hearing rumblings from state legislation that might become the norm moving forward with HTRZs. The second thing I would also recommend is our state legislation goes into session next Tuesday. Take a look at what bills are coming out right now. And a lot of them have been coming out of the housing department with low to moderate income. How do we skin that cat?
Yeah.
They're looking at additional dwelling units. They're looking at how can we utilize RDAs to maybe become more of a function. If I give you X, I need Y from you as a developer. The other issue to bring out is we've talked a lot about the government side. The reality is it's got to come from the private sector as well. And we have to figure out the mechanisms in place. So I think this year you're going to see at the state legislation a lot of push towards the LMI because we're at that point. With housing prices where they're at, back to your comment, Commissioner Gardner, are they going to come down? Maybe a smidge, but we're at where we're at. So I know the state legislation is currently trying to tackle those issues. I wish I could stand here and say today that they will be solved by the end of this legislative session. I doubt it. But my hope is that we at least come out with some legislation that when we do come forward with other projects that fall under the CRA law or something like that, we have those mechanisms in place to be able to say, yes, this is what's going to affect our low to moderate income housing.
And I do want to say we recognize that Lehigh has done a fantastic job in this area. You've definitely been team players with the rest of the county. You've worked well with the Point. Lehigh has done a great job, and so I appreciate that.
We appreciate that too. Any other questions, comments, or concerns that I can answer for you three commissioners at this time?
No, thank you very much.
Oh, yeah,
for
thank
the-
you. Do we have any public comment online or in person about this? Want to give people the opportunity? Okay. All right, thank you.
Commissioners, thank you very much again for taking the time. I know you guys were adjourning into the closed session for Stan and I to be able to be here and present to you.
Absolutely.
Thanks for being
So,
here.
Thank you.
And we'll see you on the 17th.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, ma'am.
All right, with no other comment, we will now go into closed session for real this time.